welcome to an episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason at Point State Park in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am standing at the point where three rivers collide, or they're at the confluence of, and I'll tell you more about that. This is pretty much traces the origins of the great city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And there are two forts that are here on this land. I'll show you those eventually. And lots of cool things to see. And I know it's very windy out today, probably mostly because, yes, I'm standing in front of a river. Rivers, sorry. And here's a view of Point State Park from Mount Washington. So this park, which is also known as Pittsburgh's Golden Triangle, it commemorates and preserves the strategic location and historic heritage of the area during the French and Indian War and the dramatic events of the last half of the 18th century. And then, like the land right in front of me, not the big buildings, but you know, the green space, this was all industrial buildings. And I learned at the John Heinz History Museum that when World War II soldiers came back to their city, they pretty much got tired and I don't know, like they felt like, I mean, yeah, they were welcome back, but I don't know, they didn't really feel like you know, it was just another the city. They felt like the city looked tired, and maybe because they had been to other places overseas or in America. So city leaders did gather, and this park was not, even though this was dedicated in 1974, this whole park, this was not an overnight sensation. This took 25 to 30 years to become what it is today. But yeah, as you can see, I mean, no matter what time of the year, I mean, it's a great place for locals and tourists like me to hang out and explore. All right, that right there is the fountain, and even though it is not going off at this time, probably because it's still almost end of April, but I don't really know when it goes off, probably starting in May or Memorial Day, who knows. But this was put here in 1974. All right, so here's the Allegheny River, and it's just gonna end right there. And yes, as I said in one of my other videos in Pittsburgh, there is about 400 bridges, and all of them not necessarily crossing their rivers, but yeah, like the yellow one right there, that's the Roberto Clemente Bridge. That is a pedestrian-only bridge. And yes, this is definitely a park where anyone can just sit and chill and relax. And I'm gonna go and see what this says right here. I think it says the point of confluence. Yep. All right, so where am I standing? Okay, that is the Monongahela River, and then that is the Allegheny, and then the Ohio River begins just right there, as it says there, and it runs for almost 1,000 miles. It forms many state borders, including West Virginia, Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, and of course Ohio. And I did a video where it ends in Cairo, Illinois at the Fort Pitt State Park. So yeah, definitely pretty cool to be at the confluence of three rivers. And that over there is Three River Stadium. Well, now it's called at Creasier Stadium, I think it's called, but that's where the Pittsburgh Steelers play. And then of course from here you get a nice, at least 180, well actually 360 view. I mean, that is the Duquesne Incline over there, which I rode earlier today. That is Interstate 376. I don't know the name of that bridge, but it goes right into the Fort Pitt Tunnel, and you have to stop when you go there. Lots of homes and businesses and buildings on top of the Mount Washington. And then that, of course, is the skyline of Pittsburgh. And one other thing about this fountain, it was restored in 2013 or 2013, It features a raised fountain base, and whenever the fountain is operating, over 795,000 gallons of water recirculate through the system at 20,000 gallons per minute. 6 150 horsepower pumps power the central column of water. Yeah, that's pretty deep. And this does run through May through October. This is the pump house. So yeah, this definitely operates the fountain. But when building this park, yes, a lot of stuff had to be planted, like these trees, and it looks really nice. Some of them have, they're not historical markers, but it talks about like what was grown, and it's also wanting to be more of a recreation of nature, if you know what I mean. And here's a marker I find. The Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America enacted into law July 18, 1979, National Recognition Day, as the first ceremony held on the site for ex-prisoners of war, those missing in action, and those who died in prison camps. So that is the Fort Pitt Museum. Be sure to check out their hours. They do charge a $10 fee to look in the museum if you want to learn more about Fort Pitt. They also have a gift shop. And here's a historical marker right here. Wall section through rampart of Fort Pitt. This restored wall presents a section through a typical masonry rampart of Fort Pitt. Originally built of brick burned at the site and stone quarried in the area. The fort was a 5-sided structure with a bastion at each corner and measured a half mile in perimeter. The music, grenadier, and flag bastions, which faced the eastern or land side, were built of masonry. The Ohio and Monongahela bastions were built of earth. The Monongahela bastion has been reconstructed of masonry on its original site so it could house the Fort Pitt Museum. And then right over there is the Fort Pitt Block House. Alright, so this is a historic landmark. And unfortunately we can't go back there, or I can't. This is a National Historic Landmark, 1960. So this was built in 1764. It was a small defensive redoubt and is the only surviving structure of Fort Pitt. It was originally constructed to help defend Fort Pitt from American Indian attacks during the mid-18th century. After the British abandoned the fort in 1772, the blockhouse became a trading post. By 1785, the building was converted into a single-family dwelling. And then it became living quarters. And then in 1894, this was turned to the Daughters of the American Revolution. They helped restore it. And usually it is open to the public, but unfortunately not today. Or maybe I'm too late. It's about 5 p.m. But yes, this is the oldest architectural landmark in Pittsburgh and the only authenticated pre-Revolutionary War structure west of the Allegheny Mountains. Wow, pretty cool. And then right here in the middle of this green field marks the site of where Fort Duquesne once stood. And if you see the sidewalks right there, that is actually a tracery of the fort. But in the center of it is this medallion. So it says here, this marks the exact site of Fort Duquesne, built by the French in 1754. And then the fort was destroyed by the French on the approach of the English army in 1758. Really cool stuff. And yeah, here's the tracing of it. But it's also can be used as a sidewalk. And then we're gonna check out what's underneath that bridge. And then I believe a reflecting pool usually is in here, but not today, I suppose. But according to one of the park maps, there supposedly there's water on both sides. And there's a few of these around the park where you can find historical information. Most of it I already just told you, but but I am just underneath. Yeah, it says reflection pool, but I don't see anything in there. That's okay.
Oh yeah.
But this is known as Cityside Park, as it's pretty much in the city's front yard. I guess that's why they call it that. But and that little building over there, right over there, that is where they have a restaurant, but it's not open. I imagine it's probably open during the warmer months. It's called Cafe at the Point. All right, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Historically Marked. Hope I showed you some good stuff, and hope you learned a lot as much as I did going to this great park in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I am Jason, signing off.